Hello student, we are studying our second chapter, that is photothermal applications, and in that we have covered different photothermal applications such as solar distillation, solar cooker, and which is the box type solar cooker. Also we have studied the solar dryer. So these all are the different photothermal applications which we have been covered, and in our previous video we started with the solar water heating systems, and this solar water heating system is generally used for the water heating, and these solar water heating systems has two types, that is it is classified into generally two types, that is the natural circulation, that it is also known as the thermosiphon systems, and second type is the forced circulation system. In our previous video we have covered natural circulation systems, that is the domestic hot water system, and we started the second type, that is the forced circulation systems, and we introduced two types of the forced circulation systems, that is open loop configuration and closed loop configuration. And in this video we start with the second type, that is the forced circulation system, and in that particularly the first configuration is the closed loop configuration. So let's start with the closed loop configuration. A typical industrial solar water heating system in a closed loop configuration is shown in the figure. That means this figure shows the schematic of industrial solar water heating system, and which is in the closed loop configuration. The water from the storage tank is pumped through the collector array, where it is heated and the flows back into the storage tank. That means the closed loop configuration system consists of generally two parts, that is the array of the flat plate collector, and second one is the storage tanks. But here storage tank is also single, and which is also used for the storage of hot water as well as the cold water, and in that system the cold water is replaced by the hot water by the convection process. But in this system, in order to obtain the closed loop configuration, there is the use of controller and the water pump. So in our previous video, as we discussed, in the forced circulation there is a requirement of external equipment, and which is used for the pumping of the water, and so this is the water pump which is used for the pumping of the water from the storage tank to the flat plate collector array. So the principle is very simple, that means the water from the storage tank is pumped through the collector array, where it is heated and then flows back into the storage tank. That means there is a storage tank in which the cold water is present, and this cold water is pumped through the flat plate collector array, and the flat plate collector array is used for the heating purposes of that water, and with the help of solar radiation this flat plate collector array heat the water, and again this water is provided to the tank, so that the cold water is replaced by the hot water, and this process is takes place in the loop form, and this is the closed circuit. So it is also called as the closed loop configuration, and there is a non-return valve which is used for the only in one direction flow. That means the water is flow in only one direction. This water cannot be returned to again to storage tank, otherwise there is a mixing of water and there is no use. That is the here is the unidirectional flow of the water. For that purpose non-return valve is used. This is the schematic of industrial solar water heating system, that is there is a flat plate collector array, and this flat plate collector array is used for the heating of the water, and after that this heated water is collected in the storage tank, and there is a controller. The controller is used for the sensation of the temperature difference, that is the temperature difference between the hot water and the cold water, and this controller sense this temperature difference, and after that the looping process is takes place. and also in this case, as like natural circulation process or system, there is a use of auxiliary heater in a rainy or cloudy days because there is no sunlight. So in that case we are able to collect hot water with the help of auxiliary heater, that is auxiliary heater system. And this is the schematic of the closed loop configuration. Whenever hot water is withdrawn for use, cold water takes its place using a ball float control which senses the temperature difference between the temperature of the water at the exit of the collector and a suitable location inside the storage tank. That means this controller, and which is the ball flat control, and which senses the temperature difference. But the temperature difference between the temperature of the water at the exit of the collector, that means after heating of the water, the hot water is collected in the tank. So the after heating from the flat plate collector area, this water and the water which is present in the storage tank, there is a difference between these two waters, that is the hot water and the temperature and the water which is available in the or which is present in the tank. So this difference is sensed with the help of controller. The pump is switched on whenever this difference exceeds a certain value and off when it falls below certain value. That means this temperature difference is very important, because with the help of that, if the temperature difference is increases to a certain value, then the pump is switched on. That means here is a pump at the bottom side of the storage tank, there is a pump. When this difference is exceed, that means the difference between the water which is present at the end of flat plate collector array and the in the storage tank at a particular time, this difference is exceeds, that means this difference increases, then the pump gets switched on. And if this difference falls, then the pump is switch off. So this process takes place in the loop form. So this is the closed loop configuration. And as we discussed, provision is also usually made for an auxiliary heater. That means in the rainy season or when we have the less intensity of solar radiation, then we use the auxiliary heater for the heating purposes, and which is generally used in emergency. So this is the closed loop configuration, and which is one of the type of the forced circulation system. The solar water heating systems of this type are well suited for the factories, hospitals, hotels and offices. That means the industrial hot water systems are generally used for factories. So it is also called as a forced hot water system, and the name indicate that is the industrial hot water system. That is, it is generally used for factories, hospitals, hotels and offices to obtain the hot water in a large amount. So this is all about the closed loop configuration. Now second type is the open loop configuration. In open loop configuration, there is a separation of two tanks, that is a cold water tank and the hot water tank, and there is no loop process. That means there is no particular cycle which repeats again and again. But in a closed loop circulation, the cycle repeats again and again, so there is a formation of closed loop. But in open loop, this is not happen. So let's see a typical industrial solar water heating system in a open loop configuration is shown in the figure. That means this figure contains three parts, that is a flat plate collector array, storage hot water storage tank and the cold water storage tank, and there is a requirement of two pump for the two separate tanks. So this is the schematic of the closed loop configuration. In such a configuration, the hot water flows from cold water tank through the collectors to an insulated hot water storage tank, from where it is withdrawn for use. That means This figure shows that there is a two tank, that is for the hot water system and the cold water system. So this is the left tank is for the cold water storage tank. From that the water is provided through the pump to the flat plate collector array, and when the water enters in the flat plate collector, there is a heating, that is with the help of solar radiation. The solar radiation is converted into the form of heat energy, and this heat energy is provided to the working fluid, that is the water, and in this way the heating of the water takes place, and this heated water is collected again separate tank, that means the another tank, and which is insulated tank, which is insulated from the surrounding, because it is used for the hot water storage. So this is a separate tank, and the hot water is a storage in that tank. So there is no loop formation. The process of storage of hot water and the cold water is different. So after that hot water is collected. This hot water is used for the different purposes, and this hot water is pumped with the help of pump, and we are able to use this hot water for the different applications. So this is the schematic of industrial solar water heating system, and which is in the open loop configuration. Open loop means there is no formation in any loop, so all these process takes place independent with each other, so there is no any repetition of any cycle. So this is the open loop configuration. The control of such system is usually designed so that hot water at the required temperature flows out of the collector array with the required temperature. In order to obtain the required temperature, this type of system is used. That means this type of system is generally used in industrial purposes, and in that if we want to obtain the required temperature, this type of configuration used, that is the open loop configuration. The required outlet temperature of the water is near about 80 degrees Celsius. That means the hot water which is obtained from the closed loop configuration, that is which is one of the type of forced circulation water heating system, and the output which obtained from that system, that is the hot water, and this hot water has a temperature is near about 80 degrees Celsius. That means the hot water has a large temperature as compared to the natural circulation process. So due to that it is used for the industrial purposes. It is also used for the same purposes like a closed loop configuration, that is in factories, hospital and hotels, etc., or in offices. So the purpose of the closed loop configuration and the open loop configuration is the same, that is both are used in industrial purposes such as in factories, hospitals, hotels or in offices. So only the difference in the construction. So depending on that there are two types, that is the open loop configuration and the closed loop configuration, but the use is the same for the both of. So this is all about the forced circulation system, and which is one of the type of water heating system. That is, a water heating system is classified into two types. First is the natural circulation process and natural circulation system, and second one is the forced circulation system. And depending on the construction, the forced circulation system is classified into two types, that is the open loop circulation, open loop configuration, and the closed loop configuration, and which all these we have covered. So this is all about the water heating system, and which is generally used for the water heating system. So all photothermal applications which we have been covered. That means the first photothermal application is the solar distillation. In solar distillation we can convert the impure form of the water into the pure form, that is it is used for the distillation of the water. Second one is the solar dryer. Solar dryer is used for the drying of the agricultural product, that means the crop or any vegetables which we want to dry. For that purpose the solar dryer is used, and in all these applications only the input source is the solar energy, and which is the non-conventional energy source. And after that we have been discussed about the solar cooker, and in that we have particularly discussed about the box type solar cooker, and this box type solar cooker is used to utilize the solar energy for the cooking purposes, and with the help of that solar cooker we are able to cook the food. And the last application is the solar water heating system. Generally we heat the water, and from that we are able to obtain the hot water, and this hot water is used for the different purposes, that is generally for the domestic purpose and the industrial purpose. So depending on that, there are two types, that is the natural circulation process and the forced circulation process, and which we have been all covered. Now we have covered all the topics of our second chapter. So in our next video we start with the third chapter, that is the third chapter of our course, that is the elective course, which is the renewable energy source. So in that video we will continue with third chapter.